G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sore Losers Show. This one is a review. It's on Death Breath Skateboards, which is Newcastle based here in New South Wales. One-man show, DIY, manufacturing of skateboard decks. I'll give you more information about that. So what I wanted to say first is I spoke to Chris from Death Breath Skateboards, and I said to him, look, could you make me something that is, in essence, a barnyard, but a little more sort of early 90s egg around the belly? So squarish nose, squarish tail. I left the concave up to him. I left a lot up to him. I just gave him a very rough outline because sometimes I'm really vague that way. And I just wanted to see what he would come up with, what his creative mind as a skateboard manufacturer would be able to do from an idea I had. And what he came up with is this little beauty. So this, as you can see by the shape, this is the nose here, the tail here, squarish. It bellies out really nicely. I was really impressed when I opened the box to find this guy. Looking down, it's about a medium concave. Now he has a little detail in here which I find impressive. So it's stamped. So it's unique. This shape was designed for me, and that makes me feel pretty special. Just to know, somebody took the time to think about what I asked for and do this for me. So basically, I want to put this together and give it a skate and see how it goes comparatively to other larger wood shops, mostly from the US, or, a lot of boards are made in China. Now, I've got some information about Death Breath here. Chris was nice enough to send me a very detailed email. I'm not going to give you all the information in here because it is a lot, but I think there's some key points here. So basically, he works under the hypothesis of skate and create. So very much a one-man show. If you order a board from Chris, it starts with a drawing that, he'll send through. He's mentioned that he keeps full communication with people through Instagram, through the entire process from the drawing of the board, from the rough shaping to the rounding of the edges to, what kicks you want, what kind of concave you want. He works off his own presses. He's made custom boards for, I think he mentioned that 80% of his clientele is custom orders. So he's all about the DIY, about the experimentation and fulfilling what you have in your mind and making it a reality, which I think is fantastic. And I really can't state enough how much I appreciate somebody actually putting their time and effort into manufacturing a skateboard that is specifically to my wants, my little nuances. So this is a thing of beauty. It is from the get-go a custom board, from the shape, the initial drawing of the shape, to the choosing of the veneers that go in. Chris presses everything himself. He has custom presses. He drills the holes himself. He rounds the edges himself. He screen prints the board himself. These aren't heat transferred graphics. These are screened, the wheel wells, all him. When I gave him this idea, I said, do you think this is possible? And his statement was, anything is possible. So I really like that mentality. I can't wait to put this together. Let's grip it up, throw some trucks on there, and take it for a spin. I think I'll hit some curbs because that's my scene. And then I think tomorrow I'm going to take it to a skate park, which is unusual for me. See how it goes, see how I go. So, I mean, if the skate park footage is all round shitty, which is, I mean, most of my footage anyway, don't be surprised because it's been a long time since I've ridden a skateboard at a skate park. Let's grip it up. That's the other thing. Wait, I just thought I'd mention this. I don't know where I've put it. So, when you get your Death Breath skateboard, get some stickers, which, everybody loves stickers. I've said this before. So you get stickers and grip. Now this is how DIY and custom it is. He's written on there, Damo's grip, which is like, that's so cool because first of all, I like mob and it's to the width of the board, which a lot of the time on wider boards you do have trouble finding, but this is what I like, right? So you have the screen print on the top of the board and it gives you a little bit of clear grip, which he's traced around. So you can cut it out and put that clear grip over the top to show the top graphic if you're that way inclined. I'm personally not, but the note reads, cut inside the line or don't. Let's put it together. Let's see how it rides. All right. All right, we're back. We're back from riding our Death Breath skateboard. It's been about 3 months. I'd say, yeah, maybe 3.5 months tops. And at my age, if you're in your 40s, maybe your 50s, you're approaching 50, whatever it may be, it's not the same as being 18. So that 3.5 months equates to about, for myself, about 60 hours on the board. I did really want to put in more than 50 hours on the board just to see factors like, does it lose its stiffness over that period of time? But without getting too far into that, my initial thoughts when I stood on it, I really liked the concave. It felt very familiar, largely because I have been riding boards of a similar width with a medium concave. Now, when you get to a board that is that wide, that is 10 inches and above, when you have a medium concave, it feels a lot deeper, only because it continues through. So you notice it on your toe and your heel a lot more. But like I said, it felt familiar to me. I thought it had a very comparable to any other board you'll get out there, pop. So its stiffness was just right. One thing I did notice is the concave continues through the nose and tail. I could feel that with my foot. And it felt like I was getting, well, it felt like, because it's a fact, I was getting less drag on tricks like nose slides, on crooked grinds. Generally, a large portion of the nose makes contact with the top of a curb or ledge when I'm doing a crooked grind. This seemed to just slip on up, and then it was sort of just this area, this corner, that was making contact. So it didn't feel like it had as much drag as some boards I have ridden. I really liked the wheel wells. It seemed like I was getting less wheel bite on everything straight away. Now, the thing about wheel wells is they are very dependent on what width trucks you are riding. So one wheel, and here's an example. On a board I had ridden before, I switched from, and this is a really simple switch, from the Ace standard 66s, which are a 9.35 axle width, to the AF1 77s, which are a 9.5 inch axle width. Now, you can see here from crooked grinds that I was getting wheel bite in two different spots. So one of these is from the 77s in the AF1, and one of these is from the 66s. So that's how much difference, and it's quite dramatic in that small amount of width. You can get a very noticeable point of contact. Now, after looking at that board, you know what I mean by the wheel wells. Let's get into the basic quality of product. So, as I said, I rode this for 3 months, around 60 hours, and at the end of that period, I feel like I could have ridden this for another 3 months at least without it feeling soggy, because it definitely feels very similar to the day I stood on it for the first time skating it. The only reason I took it apart is basically to have a really good look at the deck by itself, with nothing in the way, also so you guys could see it. But I've also put together another Death Breath board that Chris kindly sent me, which Anyway, getting back to it. The concave held. The pop held. It still feels stiff. The nose and tail don't seem to be sagging at all. The concave, like I said, has held great. The pop is still great. Now you can see by here, I've only gone through a couple of layers of ply on the tail because of skating curbs. Okay, one thing I will say, which I noticed, and it's not so much a negative, but it's just a little detail, and I have a theory on it anyway. It's the mounting holes seemed a little tight, and when they're a little tight, there's no wiggle room, basically, because if your bolts are in there, to try and align your truck to it once your bolts are in there, I had to give it a little jiggle. It was mostly on the front truck. It wasn't so bad on the back truck. And my theory on that is that Chris is probably using metric system drill bits when boards manufactured for or in the US or just outside of the US use the American Imperial. I don't even know what it's called, but they use their system of fractions of inches as opposed to millimeters. Anyway, so that's one thing. But you know what? I just wriggled my truck and it got on there. So I'm not even going to call that a negative. To be honest, with initially skating it, I couldn't find a negative. And I really searched for one because I didn't want it to seem like I got a free board, so I was going to just, get a Skyrider to write Death Breath in the Sky or something like that because of it. So I actually searched for negatives in it. One thing I thought was going to be a negative is the wheel wells. There's a slight There's a slight difference in the pinch point, but that's front side and back side. So that's on me. That's not actually the board, because I did measure where the wheel wells are comparatively to where your base plate sits, and they are perfectly to the millimeter the same. So that's more a front side, back side issue. And to me, look, wheel wells are a little gimmicky, so I thought, until I kind of revisited wheel wells with this board and found it to be not so gimmicky, that they actually had a function, that they weren't pinching as much. As far as general wear and tear goes, I mean, that's all it wore down. I've ridden other boards for the same period of time which have worn down further. I've ridden boards for the same period of time that have worn down less. And I'm going to put that down to what I'm doing. I can't tell you exactly how many ollies I did, how many times I popped out. By the way, that mark is from popping out of feeble grinds. So I can't tell you how many I did exactly. I can't tell you how many times I scraped the tail going into a hurricane grind. I don't know. So I'm going to say that wear and tear is equal to any other skateboard, that general wear and tear on the nose and the tail. I did zing out a few times, and the nose did bash into sort of hard surfaces, whether it be a curb or a wall, a few times. And it did not delam, it did not separate, and it did not chip, which I am really happy about, because I can't stand looking down at a chipped nose, especially if it's a chip on top or a delammed puffy section of nose. So I was really happy that I did not experience any delam. The other thing is, my board lives in my car, so it is subject to temperature changes. As you know, Australia can go from one extremity to another. I think we had a few days there where the overnight temperature was sort of down around 14 or 15 degrees, and the maximum during the day was approaching 40. So as far as temperature changes going, it didn't warp, it held up great. So that's, as far as the manufacturing goes, that's all I can say on that. Excellent. I can't pick a fault with anything within the manufacturing, aside from, as I mentioned, the mounting holes being a little tight on the deck bolts. But is that a fault? It just means less likely to rattle. So moving on from the manufacturing to the custom aspect, I got what I wanted plus, because I gave a very rough outline of what I wanted to see. Like, I just wanted a shovel nose, a shovel tail, and a little bit of an egg throughout. Now, Chris communicated to me, he suggested a wheelbase that I didn't actually go with, and I wish I had. And but he also suggested to me the wheel wells, this, that, the other, what color stain, what color graphic on top of that stain. He really communicated throughout the process, and it made me feel special, you know. And I don't mean to get too esoterical on this, but actually, you know what, fuck that, because skateboarding is esoterical. Well, not just the action of skateboarding, but a skateboarder's lifestyle, the way it changes the way you look at the world. It's esoterical. Few would understand, and you would have to be a skateboarder to really get it, I think. So to be a skateboarder that had something created for him, it made me feel just really good. Like, skateboarding for me has always been an outlet, has been like a form of meditation, has been mood changing. You know, obviously it's exercise, gets you out of the house, this, that, the other. But then when you add something that is truly yours and is not bought off like picked off a shelf or from a page on the internet that you actually had into, it makes all the difference. And I honestly felt great every time I stood on this board, every time I looked at this board, to be honest. And I'm happy to say that I have ordered another board of Chris, and I'm currently riding another board, and I've ordered another board which I wanted to try because I think I'm slowly becoming addicted to having a custom or close to a custom board under my feet. And yeah, and I'll say that just about concludes our review of Death Breath Skateboards. I encourage anybody, if you're after a custom skateboard and a great experience with a manufacturer, look them up on the socials. Death Breath Skateboards, the website Death Breath Skateboards. It's pretty simple. Chris is great at communication and probably much better than I am at doing these reviews. But contact him, give him your idea. I'm sure he'll be able to help you out. But as far as Death Breath goes, my experience with this whole process, from the idea to it coming to fruition, to riding the board and beyond, has just been nothing short of fantastic. So Death Breath Skateboards, that's 3 ticks. That's the highest in my tick rating system. I might need to add more ticks because, yeah, or maybe I can do 2.8 ticks if something isn't perfect. But anyway, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Death Breath Skateboards. That's technically 2 thank yous for Chris. But you deserve them. And thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Sore Losers Show. Damo.